point that, who was it? GC was bringing up about man minus uppercase and how to find stuff that doesn't immediately appear using man minus uppercase. GC, you are mentioning you don't find specific stuff. JP is just answering, I did a man minus K auto relabel. And what is man minus K auto relabel doing? That is bringing you to the SE Linux man page. Man minus uppercase K is bringing you in the man page that contains the matching term. What happens if you get out? Then you get to the next man page. And you get out, then you get to the next man page. And well, that makes, in my opinion, man minus uppercase K not a perfect candidate. For the simple reason, the result might be way too long. What I would suggest in cases where you have a hard time finding the exact command, try to remember the context. I mean, if auto relabel, you know that it is about SE Linux, then what you could do is man minus K SE Linux. I'm always going for the short man minus K because the short man minus K is giving me a readable list. And in this readable list, I'm going to check what do I have. And well, you might find many commands and, oh, it starts with SE Linux. That sounds generic, so man SE Linux. And what I want to show you here is what is happening when I'm using uppercase G. Uppercase G is about C also. That's what I normally use to get my information. So the issue is that man minus K, man minus uppercase K might not give you the desired result. But if you know more or less what you are looking for, just pick a related command and have a look at the C also. And the C also is probably bringing you closer. In the end, once you have practiced enough, you will notice that it will become easier to find the appropriate command. That goes for about everything. If there is a key command, let's say you can't remember SE manage. Let me put it this way. I get a question from this person who is asking, hey Sander, I'm going to take the RHCSA exam pretty soon, but I always have a hard time remembering SE manage. You know what that means to me? It means to me that that person needs more practice. And I know how difficult it can be to remember stuff. And I know that it can even become more difficult by the time you're getting older. But I also know that if you practice sufficiently, then it will stick to your mind and it will become easier to get in the right context. And my message here is practice, practice, and practice before you go to the exam. A good RHCSA preparation really requires a lot of practice. I hope that helps. I'm going to continue with the next part, su and sudo. I would like to tell you about the stuff that is on the slide about su minus and sudo. I have 4 slides in total, and I'm going to do all of them, and then I'm going to show you around what is going on in this su and sudo stuff. Yes, practice to make muscle memory. That is true. You know, brains is a muscle. And you need to train it. You don't run a marathon without practice. You don't take the RHCSA exam without practice. Good, su and sudo. The reason I'm calling this topic su and sudo is because when I started Linux, people were logging in as root and nobody cared about it. Yeah, that was in the early 1990s, in case you are wondering. How long ago was that? Well, that was pretty long time ago. Then came the moment that people were using SU, or better, SU minus, to open a root shell. What is SU minus doing? Well, let's have a look at the slide. SU is for switching the current user account to another user account. So it allows you to take a different identity in your current shell. My advice, if you are using SU, always use SU minus, because the minus makes it the complete environment of the target user is loaded. So you don't want in your subshell where you want to be another user. You don't want to have some of your own user environment variables to stick around. That's why you are using SU minus. When you are using SU, and that's a very important one, the password of the target user is entered. So when you are using SU without an argument, I mean SU Bob, you would need to enter the password as of the target user Bob if you are not root. If you are using SU minus, you don't specify the target user, then automatically it assumes that you want to become root. And here is the problem. Because in order to open that root shell, you need the root password. And that's a problem because the root password should be big secret. And if you are going to reveal the root password to all users that want to do administration, then you have a huge problem in your security. And that is why using SU minus to open a root shell is considered bad practice. You should use sudo -i instead. What is sudo? Well, sudo is a solution that works for authorized users only. And the most important difference from a security perspective between su and sudo is that sudo prompts for the current user password. So that doesn't make your system security completely worthless. That means that only your authorized user can open this sudo shell. Sudo -i opens a root shell. Obviously, you can also use sudo command to run only a specific command with sudo privileges. In case you are wondering, sudo -i or sudo su, is that the same? Yes, that's the same. If you are using sudo su, that is equivalent to sudo -i, so no worries about it. So first thing to remember, if you want to do administration, you use sudo -i to open your administrative shell. I would always go for the shorter solution because that's less typing, isn't it? The su command itself can be used for testing other user accounts, and only that. Now, RD is asking, can you disable SU minus? Yes, you can disable SU minus. There's a very simple solution. Do not set a root user password. Honestly, I firmly believe that Ubuntu has always been doing the right thing. Why would you want to have a root user password? The root user is the most popular target in attacks on Linux machines. And if your root user has a password, you make your root user vulnerable. So just don't set a password, and nobody will ever be able to open a root shell using SU minus. I would not want to disable SU minus completely, because in my testing of user accounts, I want to be able to take the identity of the user that I want to test. So I want to do SU minus Bob to see what user Bob is experiencing to test it. Good. How about sudo? Well, sudo is more secure, and behind sudo there's the etc sudoers configuration file, and etc sudoers configuration file is something that you should not edit directly. Use vi sudo. After getting your authorization through the etc sudoers as a user, you can use sudo followed by the command that you want to run. I'm going to demonstrate in just a little bit, but there is something. Folks, this is not on the exam, and I rarely do this, but it kind of freaks me out that so many people are enabling the line wheel all is all, no pass WD all. This is a line in the etc sudoers, and in etc sudoers you have you have this line which makes that if you are a member of the group wheel and you are a member of the group wheel, you can use all commands from all systems using all identities without having to enter a password. I really don't like that. That means that if you are an ordinary user Bob is a member of Group Wheel, and it means that user Bob can use sudo commands without entering a password. I think it's terrible from a security perspective, and you shouldn't ever do that. Why are people doing this no pass WD option? Well, people are doing that because if you enter a password, a sudo password, sudo will generate an authentication token, and this authentication token is valid for 5 minutes. What is it going to do if you enter your next sudo password? It will prompt, if you enter your next sudo command, it will prompt for a password again. And that is annoying. And that's why people are using this no pass WD option. Again, folks, you don't have to do this to know this for the exam, but for real life, can you please include this line in your sudo configuration file, where the timestamp timeout defines in minutes how long this authentication token is going to be valid. 60 minutes is a lot more acceptable. Some people even like to set 240 minutes so that they can work the entire morning, the entire afternoon without having to enter the sudo password again. But please, no passwordless sudo. That is really very insecure. One more slide, and that's about providing access to specific tasks. Well, I'm just going to show you. Let me use vi sudo. And MB, the timeout resets every time you use sudo. No, that's not the case, MB. The sudo authentication token remains valid as long as you are logged in until its expiration. So if I would use this magical option to set the authentication timeout to 4 hours, then it will be valid for 4 hours. But if I log out and log in again, I'm generating a new authentication token. It's for the duration of your session. The duration of your session is another limitation that plays a role here. Right, I would like to show you vi sudo. Vi sudo allows you to enter this etc sudoers file. In vi sudo, the good examples are near the end of the configuration file. Don't drown in all the stuff in the beginning. Most people don't use this stuff in the beginning. What I like in order to understand vi sudo is this. This line is what I would use if I need to create a sudo configuration for a specific user. And based on this line, well, you can probably figure that if I'm using user Linda, did I even create user Linda? I don't think so. Let's do that in a bit. So Linda all is slash sbin user add slash bin pass wd. What does that mean? Well, that means that if we are going to set this, it means that user Linda can add users and can set the password. So user Linda would be kind of a help desk user, right? Let's check if that is working. I'm using user add Linda to create a user Linda and pass wd Linda. Let's do this a fancy way. Echo password pipe pass wd -- standard in Linda. Why is this the fancy way? Well, I don't have to enter the password twice, and that is convenient. It's also convenient that you can make this a part of a shell script to set passwords in a much more efficient way. So user Linda is a password now. Good. I'm going to open a shell as user Linda by using su -linda. That is, by the way, how I regularly use su- to open an account for a different user. So not for root access, for different user access. So su -linda brings me in the Linda environment. And now I am going to use user add Lisa. Is that going to work? JS, I will read your question in a minute. User add Lisa is not going to work. This is a common problem, but what I want to show you here is that if you are a member of this sudo group, if you have sudo authorization, you do need to type sudo to unleash your superpowers. So sudo user add Lisa. I'm entering the password for user Linda. That is working. And sudo passwd Lisa. I'm entering the password, and here we go once, and here we go twice. That works. But the problem here is, let me also show you one thing that doesn't work. Sudo user del Lisa. Linda doesn't have user del allowance. So she can only create a user and set the password. But the thing that you need to be aware of is this, sudo passwd root. Is that going to work? Yes, it is going to work. User Linda with very limited access permissions to sudo commands is capable of changing the password for the user root. That might be something that you don't like. And if that is something that you don't like, then, well, you need to tweak your sudo configuration just a little bit. I'm using vi sudo. I'm going back to the Linda line, and in the Linda line, I am going to include bin passwd, and behind bin passwd, I'm adding exclamation mark user or bin password, that would work as well, bin password root. So in a sudo configuration, you can include the entire command. You can also include the command with the arguments that you want to allow. So by making this bin password root, we are talking about the root password. And the exclamation mark makes the exception. Now, the thing that is slightly surprising here is that you would normally, in most software solutions, expect the exception to be listed first and not last. But in the sudo configuration, this is really how it is going to work. RD, yes, it means exclude. The generic meaning of an exclamation mark in Linux is not. So Linda can set passwords, but not for user root. So let's test that su minus Linda and sudo passwd root. And sorry, Linda is not allowed. But sudo passwd Lisa, that still works. That's what I have to say about sudo. One more thing. Instead of adding lines to etc sudoers, you can also create a drop-in file. So vim etc sudoers .d / Linda, and you can post the line in etc sudoers.d / Linda. What I don't like about the etc sudoers.d Linda is that I don't have the examples in front of me, and I'm terrible in remembering the exact context here. So you want to create these drop-in files, that's fine with me. I don't see a significant benefit over using the drop-in files instead of editing etc sudoers. It's just another way of doing it. Okay, thanks for waiting until I completed this explanation. Folks, I hope you understand that when I'm getting questions, I don't want to interrupt explanations if they are a little bit more complex. So I'm holding off the answers. And I am going to have a look at the questions right now. So JS was asking, I have to run which user add and which password to find their location when I do this exercise. Yes, that is absolutely true, JS. So which command, which passwd, and you can find where it is. Also, JS, you might use your knowledge of the Linux file system hierarchy standard. The file system hierarchy standard defines where files should be should be created. So binaries should be in bin password. These are binaries that are accessible for ordinary users. Administration binaries, aka system binaries, should be in /sbin. And note that on Red Hat, bin and user bin are the same. sbin and user sbin are also the same. But which in general is a good command if you are wondering where in the path this binary is found. One thing, which is only working for directories for files in the path. So if you have an executable that is not in your search path, which is not good enough, and you would use find. So find /-name passwd. Passwd is a more complete search on your entire system for items with the name passwd. Sometimes which is not good enough. Please keep that in mind. TT mentions also convenient for the exam value as to create a user with specific password. Is that right? TT, I'm not really sure to what you are referring here because you posted this 6 minutes ago. That was probably about the interactive password, but I'm not sure about it. GC says, so the order of password exclamation bin password root matters? Yes, the order matters. If you don't do the order right, then it won't work. So order is really important here. And OA mentions that locate also works. The disadvantage of locate is that locate depends on a database. And I really don't like commands where I need to remember another command. And yeah, that is why I'm not a big fan of locate. I'm against locate. Oh, JC is mentioned, that's an interesting addition, that the files in etc sudoers.d, you are missing the S in the directory name JC. These files can't have a dot. That's a nice addition. Thanks for adding that, because I also wasn't aware of that. I never tried it, but it's good to know. Anyway, the files in etc sudoers.d normally match the names of the users that are going to use the file. Talking about users, that is going to be our next topic. I have too many slides about users. Users is quite a simple topic. I'm going over the slides and then I will demonstrate. So what do we have on the slides? Managing users. A user is a security entity. And we have user accounts to provide permissions to processes as well as people. So users are not only for people, processes have user accounts as well. So processes are using system accounts and people are using regular accounts. You know what? Let me start by showing you etc passwd. etc passwd is where these users are stored. And it's a readable text file, anybody can read it. Now here we have geoclue. What is geoclue? I don't have a clue, but hey, we can always -k it if you really want to know. Do I really want to know? No, I don't even want to know what it is about. What I do want to know is that this is a system account. How do we recognize it as a system account? Well, 3 things. Thing number 1, we have a user ID, the UID, the unique user identification, which is smaller than 1000. So the user ID is 994. System accounts typically have a user ID smaller than 1000. We have a home directory which is not in home, and we have the shell set to /sbin/no login. That's the third way to recognize the system account. Now, if you go a little bit further down, we can see the people users. And people users on Red Hat have a user ID starting with 1000. That's all stuff that you can customize. And if you've been around in Linux for long enough, you probably remember that in the past, the limit was set to 500. So the people users started at UID 500, but then an increasing amount of services was introduced, and all these services need to be able to have their own unique UID. You can also see that people users on Linux, on Red Hat Linux, normally have bin bash as their shell. That's a program that will be started on logging in. And we have a home directory in /home, followed by the name of the person who creates it. And all of that is happening by default. JP, I'm assuming that you are asking GC, so I'm going to ignore that question if you don't mind. And if you were asking me, you need to be more specific. Okay, I want to create a user. Well, do I need to create a user? No, because that's so obvious. User add, user mod, user del. User add adds the user, user mod modifies the user, and user del, well, that is going to delete the user. So that is all that you need to know about these commands. These commands are not really interesting. What is interesting, very interesting, particularly from the context of the exam, is standardization of what you are doing when you are creating users. The most important standardization file is etc login.devs. Login.devs contains a couple of default parameters. And these default parameters are used while creating the user account. I can promise this is important. Oh yeah, let me teach you how to listen behind the lines. Small off topic, but very relevant. There is the non-disclosure agreement, okay? The non-disclosure agreement is what everybody signs who takes the Red Hat exams. And that means you cannot talk about the contents of the Red Hat exams. That's exactly what I'm going to do, because I think the non-disclosure agreement and the respect for the NDA makes that the RHCSA exam is a valuable certification. For that reason, I will never answer a question, are they going to ask this on the exam? I will always answer that by saying, let's check the objectives. The RHCSA objectives, there you learn what you need to know and what you don't. But nevertheless, I want to be a good instructor, and being a good instructor means that I am going to tell you which topics are important. And if I'm telling you that the topic is important, well, what does that mean? That means that the topic is important. I can't say if that means if it's going to be on the exam. I can only say that it means that the topic is going to be important. And if you think that this message is confusing, well, I can't make it any more specific, because I don't want to violate my non-disclosure agreement. Folks, I hope you understand what I'm meaning here. etc login.devs is important. So that is the magical phrase. This is important. What do we find here? Well, we find settings that can be used. And I'm scrolling over the settings, and this one is interesting. This is about permissions. Home mode 700. That means that by default, only the owner of the home directory is getting permissions. That's how you like it to be, don't you? And then we have the password options. These are important as well. Pass max days, 99,999. Can you imagine? 99,999, that is 272 years. 99,999 days ago, Napoleon still needed to become the Emperor of France, to give you an impression. And the US still needed to do their civil war. I think they were still part of Britain, but I'm not as aware of US history as European history. That's not the topic. The topic is that this is really a long period. So pass max days is the maximum validity of your password. You probably want to shorten it. Pass min days is interesting, minimal amount of days. And pass warn age, excuse me, is the number of days before expiration that the user is getting a warning. Good. What else do we have? UID min. Oh, that's the interesting one. That's about the user IDs. I was just telling you that on Red Hat, people users, their user ID starts with 1000. And that's a customizable setting. And this is where you can customize it. Do we have anything else that is interesting? I don't think so. Yeah, I like this one. Encrypt method SHA-512. This might be interesting for other exams. I have seen another Red Hat exam where they were, I can't tell you which exam it was, but I can tell you that I needed to write a playbook, and that playbook needed to make sure that the user password encryption method was SHA-512. Hey, I didn't reveal anything from my NDA, did I? But I hope you mean what I'm talking about. This is the encryption method, and that's a customizable setting as well. For the rest of it, I don't have anything much more important in etclogin.devs. Yes, for the Windows users amongst us, in the Windows operating system, you can change settings. They call that a policy, I believe, and apply that to existing users. That doesn't work on Linux. etclogin.devs, excuse me, is processed at the moment that the user is created. Once the user is created, nobody looks at etclogin.devs anymore. There's another thing that matters for standard values, and that is etc_skel. What is etc_skel? That's the skeleton directory. And in this directory, you copy files that will be created to the user home directory when you create the user. So if you have some file that you need to be present in every new user's home directory, this is the location to put it in. Look, touch hello file and user add Lisa. And oh, I already have user Lisa. Okay, let's do user add Bob. I already have Bob. Come on, user add Bill. And let me use ls-l on home Bill to see what we got. Yeah, hello file was copied to this directory. So etc_skel, convenient directory. Right, remember it. Anything else I need to tell you? Well, maybe about limiting access. I'm back on the slides right now. If you don't see the slides, please double click the third button from the left to get access to the slides. So user accounts can be temporarily locked. How do we do that? User mod -L will do that. You can do this in different ways. Folks, just to be clear, I'm not always giving you a list of all the different ways that you can use to do the same thing, because you don't care about remembering 5 commands to do the same thing, right? I hope you remember, I hope you care about remembering just one of them, because that is enough. So user mod -L for lock and -U for unlock. And user accounts can also be set to expire. That might be interesting. User mod -E 2032-0101. Make sure that user bill expires on 1st of January 2023. No, that's a typo, 2032. So this user still has a couple of years. Also, you can set the shell. So set the shell to sbin no login. And then the question, of course, is how are we going to set the shell? Well, I can tell you that is user mod -S. But folks, this is not how you should be thinking. In this class, I sometimes get questions like, which option do I use to? I don't want to answer questions. Which options do I use to? I do want to answer questions like, Sander, I had a look at user mod --help, and I wanted to set the default shell, and I didn't find it. That's a question I want to answer. But the message here, folks, is that you can find information about options in man pages and in help. And here you can see, yeah, -S, that's for new login shell for the user account, and so many other options. So folks, in my classes, I am never going deeply into the different options because that is such a waste of time. I'm only telling you all the options to modify your users, to create your users, to do whatever you want to do. Minus minus help will help you use it on the exam. I'm serious. I don't have very good memory, but I'm very skilled in using commands like user, like minus minus help to figure out which options are available. Use it yourself as well. Right. Group membership. We need to talk about group membership. Why is that? Well, each user must be a member of at least one group. That's important for permissions. You create a user. By default, you also create a group with the same name as the user. Let me use still -1 on etc pass WD. And what do we see? We see user Bill. UID 1004, GID 1004. This is a coincidence. The UID and GID will not always be the same. But if I use still -1 on etc group, then what do we see? We see the group Bill. It's a pretty lonely group because user Bill is the only user who is a member of the group Bill. We call that a private user group. Why do we do private user group? Because in the past we did something way worse. And this way worse thing was to make all users a member of the group users. You know what that means? That means that the user creates a file and all users will have read access to that file. That's very insecure. And that is why for the last 20 years or so, we have private user groups. And that's really a secure option. So user Bill is member of a group Bill and nobody else is a member of group Bill. But if user Bill needs to work together intensively with user Bob, then user Bill can decide to make user Bob a member of the group Bill as well. And then user Bob has the permissions to this Bill group. You can do that. That's up to the discretion of this user that you are creating. Now back to the slides. So each user must be a member of at least one group, and that's taken care of. Let me also tell you that no matter what they ask on the exam, it is pretty unlikely that they are asking you to change the primary group membership. Primary group membership is really kind of pretty essential. And it's unlikely that they're asking you to change that. So if you read a question and you're not sure how to interpret, if the wording is not good enough, I would say just remember you don't very frequently change primary group membership on your users. What you do change is secondary group membership. So primary group membership managed through etc pass WD. And secondary group membership can also be defined. And that's an important one. Secondary group membership is administered in etc groups. I'll show that in a little bit. And forget about new GRP. Let's check how we do this. So group add, that's how you add a group. Wow, that's not really complicated. Group del and group mod. Do I need to spend any words on that? I hope not. LID is an interesting one to list the group names. And boy, what I want to do here is something that's not on the slide. I have my user Lisa, ID Lisa. Let's imagine that my user Lisa is a system administrator and I need user Lisa to be a member of the group Wheel. Then how do we do that? Well, in order to make a user a member of a specific group, you use user mod. User mod minus lowercase a uppercase g. Wheel Lisa. Why do we need lowercase a, uppercase g? Well, the uppercase g option is kind of a stupid option. It will define a new list of secondary groups that the user is a member of. If you only use uppercase g, then you delete all current secondary group memberships. That's something nobody ever wants to do. So the standard that you want to use here is user mod minus lowercase a, uppercase g, Wheel Lisa. Now I'm going to use Vim on etc group. And in etc group, I'm going to look up group wheel. There we go. And here we see group wheel with all of the current members. Hey, PM, you have an interesting question. How do we remove a user from a group? Well, I would say either you are going to look up the commands in user mod. I mean, user mod minus help. If you don't fancy using complex commands, you can also edit the configuration file. And you know, this is Linux. And in Linux, these configuration files are not protected or anything. You can just edit them. And I kind of like it to just edit it. So I'm updating my etc group. And now I'm using ID on Lisa. Sorry, I didn't ever do it after making Lisa a member of Wheel. And what do we see? User Lisa is not a member of Group Wheel anymore. Okay, GC, you're asking about the different commands to lock a user. And I want to repeat the question because it's an important question and the answer is even more important. So GC, you're asking if on the exam I'm asked to lock a user. I have different options. And you're listing user mod minus uppercase L, change minus uppercase E, and pass WD minus L. And all of these work. The only thing that matters is the result. I mean, user mod minus L, Lisa. Let's show the effect. Oh, sorry, I need pass WD on Lisa first. It makes so much more sense if the user has a password. And then, just to make sure, user mod minus L, Lisa. What is this doing? Well, I am going to check etc shadow. etc password is where your users are created. etc shadow is where the hashes of the encrypted passwords are stored. And I want to show you etc shadow going way down in the list. And what do we see? Compare user Linda. This is the hash of the encrypted password for user Linda. Compare this user with user Lisa. This is the hash of the encrypted password for user Lisa with an exclamation mark in front of it. Excuse me. What again was the meaning of an exclamation mark in Linux? Well, in Linux, the generic meaning of an exclamation mark is not. So the exclamation mark is what has been done to lock the user. And you can use whichever command you want to put the exclamation mark in there. And if you would want to do this manually, excuse me, then that's also going to work. Oh, read-only file. Yeah, etc shadow is a little bit more protected. I need to tell you about that later. The message here is that really, excuse me once more, it is that really it doesn't matter how you do it as long as the result is there. Okay, is there anything else? Manage password settings. Well, we talked about password settings. We talked about pass WD. There is change as well to manage password expiration parameters. Look at that for yourself. I want to put you to work. So folks, we are going to do break combined with lab time. I'm putting you to work. I need you to work on this lab because this lab is setting up the users in groups that you are going to need to work with permissions, which is what we are going to cover after the break. So here is how it works. I am going to set the break timer to 15 minutes in total so that you have time to get a cup of coffee or whatever you want to get. And you also have time to work on this lab. I'll show you the solution for the lab once we are back from the break. Oh, MB is asking, isn't there another file to update if you manually edit etc pass WD and etc shadow? Well, MB, let me give you the careful answer, not as far as I know. And if you think that answer doesn't sound very sure, I've been editing etc pass WD, etc shadow a lot. It just works. So no, you don't have to update anything else. This just works. as long as the settings are in these files. But anything user property password related is in these files. So that's how it works, folks. I am going to I'm going to type history first, and then I'm opening my terminal with the countdown timer. So here is the countdown timer. I'm setting it to 15 minutes in total. Enjoy your break/lab time, and we will continue in 15 minutes. I will be with my coffee machine first, and once I'm back, I'm starting to have a look at your questions. If any questions appear, I'll answer them as fast as possible just by typing the answer in group chat or Q&A, depending on where you type your question. So talk to you in a bit. Enjoy your break.